So just have a few questions. Firstly, in your opinion, what is the greatest challenge facing humanitarian workers today, and what should be done to improve humanitarian access to victims and security for aid workers?
Okay, so I'll answer the first question first. Then, the first question is on what is the increasing risk for humanitarian workers today. I think certainly there are many aspects to this. First and foremost, I think the first thing that we need to recognize is that there is an ongoing ignorance for the safety of aid workers. I think there's been a lot of disregard of safety. Not enough attention has been paid to the safety of humanitarians, despite the fact that they are in the field trying their very best to help as much as possible. I think this increasing risk is also very, very frightening and might also scare a lot of humanitarians who wish to continue working in this line of work. And certainly I can speak for myself as well. Now, even going to Afghanistan, I have to second guess my decision to go there. So in terms of the increase of terrorist activities, and not just in a crisis context, but also in a natural disaster, the amount of disasters are going to increase. And the bigger the disaster, I think the bigger the dangers that the humanitarian workers would face as well. In terms of the second question will be, what is it again?
It was on what should be done to improve humanitarian access to victims.
Okay. I think that also again ties back to what I said earlier about how there needs to be more recognition given to humanitarian workers in the field. I think there needs to be more openness on the government, especially when agencies like Save the Children come into the country to offer with opening arms like the help that they need. One good example I can paint is just the drought crisis that El Nino has caused. Sorry, my glasses. I'm going to continue from drought crisis. I'll take this off. So I'll give a good example about the drought crisis that El Nino has caused, and the fact that millions and millions of people were actually affected by the disaster, but the government was unable to recognize it as an emergency. Without that recognition, without the media attention, it becomes even harder to work. So I think there needs to be an increase of partnerships between NGOs. The media also plays a very strong role in how they portray the emergency, so that it allows us to be able to move quicker and more fluidly into communities to give the help as quickly as possible. So of course I'm a comms and media manager, so I would say media, but then also I think it also boils down a lot to empowerment of the nationals, not always thinking that help has to come internationally. And through my experience, I believe that a lot of the help actually comes from within. So empowering and training and investing in local talent also plays a very big role to that.
The second question is, what are the most important positive changes you see within the humanitarian system over the past decade?
What significant changes?
What are some of the important positive changes that you've seen in the humanitarian field?
I think over the last 6 years, the key thing is coordination, and that's something that we improve. We're not at the best yet, definitely. I think there's so much more room for improvement. But we are at a stage where I can say that the different sectors, be it shelter, be it education or child protection, we're all able to work together now rather than siloed efforts. So I'd say that that's the most significant improvement. I think even with agencies like OCHA being set up after the Haiti earthquake, I think there are systems in place now and they're getting better in how we coordinate our response. So that's key. And I hope that within the next 5 years we won't wait too long before we improve significantly again.
So actually that kind of goes to the next question, which is in terms of what you think are some of the challenges that humanitarian workers are likely to face going into the future.
I think the challenge is very... Let me think about this for a sec. Okay, the challenges are very hard to predict. I think every challenge that I've faced with over 10 disasters now has been on a case-by-case basis, because it really boils down to the context of how the governance is being run, who are the actors currently in place, how many people are affected as well. So the challenge would still exist, I think, especially with shift in different Western powers, with shift in the South as well. So the challenge still boils down to how well connected are you going to be when the event actually occurs. When the crisis happens, are we able to say that we are there on the ground quickly and have already the existing networks put out in place? This kind of boils back to that question on whether it's an increase of difficulty being a humanitarian. I think that kind of goes hand in hand with just being a humanitarian in the field. The changing environment will be the challenge, and we need to adapt quickly, and we need to, how do I put it softly, make friends as quickly as possible. Yeah.
Right, and lastly, that's more in terms of your experience. So,
Sure.
In your recent experience in responding to the 2015 Nepal earthquake, what were the challenges and difficulties in working with the different stakeholders that you found, if there were any?
Okay.
And what were some of the lessons that can be learned which can help make future responses better?
Okay. So again, I'll address the challenges first. When I was in Nepal in 2015, one of the biggest challenges when we first went in was purely logistical. I think the issue was that the Kathmandu office for Save the Children was not prepared. No one was prepared well enough to know that the capital city was going to be hit, and that also equated to about 400 of our staff who were directly affected by the earthquake. So logistics was really an issue. Connectivity was still okay. I think it was by surprise that comms was still up, internet was still running, we were able to coordinate well, but we were certainly not able to fly in enough staff as quickly as possible to deploy our materials that to the amount of people who were affected by the Nepal earthquake. So that certainly was a challenge. And I think moving forward, the things that we do currently, even within Save the Children, is to really just plan, to just really think of the unimaginable and run simulations. And I believe every organization is doing it already, or if they've not, they should be doing it. And these simulations will be very helpful. At the regional office alone, we run emergency simulations with a lot of the country officers, especially those really prone to disasters like the Philippines, for example. They're super prepared. And we just want to make sure that even if it happens in the worst case scenario, the staff will be ready and able to move forward. And I guess the other aspect of it would be if, let's say, the national office is not able to cope with the capacity, then certainly training international actors and regional actors to be able to move in quickly. And that also comes in turn with a lot of the relationships that we built. Yeah.
So we're just curious to know if you interacted or saw the military during your deployment in Nepal, and so how.
Oh no, is this going to go sensitive? Is there a part 2 to that question?
No,
okay.
just
Yes, I did interact with the military. Excuse me. Yes, I did interact with the military. I did step into the warehouses. I interacted with the military and the police forces as well during the deployments. And certainly we would have to, because there's no way we would be able to deploy our resources without them. We would never want to act without steer, because ultimately they are the ones with the best understanding of what the need is on the ground.
Okay, and what were your thoughts and opinions of them as one of the stakeholders in responding?
Okay, so military, I'd say partnerships when it comes to a response is rather tricky, and it always has been, it always will be. My opinion of how it went for the Nepal response was relatively neutral. I think that they played a very critical role still in how we did things. It's not like we used their vehicles or anything like that, but they certainly provided the intel that is really needed to know statistically what resources are needed on the ground. And I think without them and without understanding their speciality, like we wouldn't be as efficient as we could have been here. Yeah.
Thank you very much.